In this section, we're going to take care of our last method down here, the remove card method. So the idea behind this method is that we're going to try to remove one particular card from our deck. I can't really imagine where we would use this method in a real card game, but I'm sure there's some card game out there where you have to like find the ace of spades or something and take it out of the deck. Now for this method, we're going to do things just a little bit differently. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to have you take a shot at putting the remove card method together. Okay, so you're going to take a shot at it on your own using nothing but the code that we've already got over here in Dartpad and the list class reference that we've been looking at quite a bit so far. So I'm going to give you a couple of little tips here just to get you started, and then I'm going to cut you loose. So the first thing I want to point out here is inside of the list class documentation. If you scroll down inside the documentation, so I'm going to go down, down, down again until I find the methods section. I think I just passed it. So here's the methods section, and I want to point out one particular method to you, the remove where method right here. So I want you to take a look at this method right here, and I don't know, just kind of get a sense of how it works. The remove method expects you to pass in a function to it. That function will then be executed with every element within a list. And then if that function returns true, the element will be removed, but if it returns false, the element will stay around. And so we've already worked on a very similar function, very similar in nature to this one right here. You'll recall we put together our cards with suit function right here. So this was very similar in nature, but this was where, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you might want to take a look at remove where right here. Okay, so then the other thing I want to show you very quickly is back inside of Dartpad. I really expect that you're probably going to add a new method to our class. So maybe a method right here. Maybe you're going to call that method something like remove card. I don't know, it's totally up to you. And chances are that when we call remove card, we're going to have to pass in both the suit and rank of the card that we want to remove. So whereas back on the card with suit method that we passed in right here, or the method that we created right here, we were only passing in the suit, I kind of expect that for a remove card method, we'll have to pass in both a suit and a rank to specify what card we're trying to remove. Okay, so I want you to give it a shot, do the best job you can. If you get stuck, don't sweat it. We're going to go over a solution together right in the next section. So I'll see you in just a minute. Okay, hopefully you had some success in putting this remove card method together. So again, I really think that we're going to end up using this remove where method that belongs to all lists that are created. So let's go back over to Dartpad and we're going to put this thing together. Okay, so back over here, I'm going to create a new method inside of my deck class, and I'm going to call it remove card. Now to specify the card that we want to remove, I'm going to expect that we're probably going to have to pass in the suit and the rank of the card that we're looking for. So I will receive those as arguments. I'll say string suit and string rank. If you flipped the order of these two arguments right here, that's totally fine. You can go in absolutely whatever order you wish. Then inside of here, I'm going to call that remove where method right here. Now one thing that I want to make really clear here, because this was something that might have tripped you up just a little bit, just a couple sections ago we were talking about how lists contain references to objects. So in this case, when we call it remove where, whatever passed that truth or false test is going to be simply removed entirely from the list. So like that reference gets deleted. So we don't have to create a second list or worry about these copying over or anything like that. By just calling remove where, it will remove that record from the list. It doesn't actually delete the original record, but we don't have to actually worry about that. We just care about removing the record from the list. All right, so I'm going to go back over to Dartpad. And inside of here, I'm going to call cards.remove where. Now as soon as I add that in, you'll notice that I get the function signature right here. So the remove where function should receive a function of its own. I'm going to get called that thing with a card element, and I'm supposed to return a Boolean from it. So I'll place my set of parentheses. And then inside of here, I'm going to first get started by using that long form syntax for defining a function. You'll recall that back up here, we used the shorthand syntax with the arrow function, with the arrow symbol right there, but this time around, I'm just going to start easy and assume that I might need the long form syntax. So I will receive a card inside this thing, and then from this function, I'm going to return card.suit. So this is the suit that belongs to the card that we're currently iterating over, and I'm going to check to see if that is equal to the suit that was passed into our function. So if these two values right here are identical, then that means that this is probably a card that I want to remove. And then to check to see if I also want to remove the rank as well, I'm going to add in an and, like so. This right here might have been a little bit of a reach. I apologize. I didn't really tell you about how to combine Boolean values together. So if this part right here of getting kind of combining two Boolean values together was confusing, I do apologize for that. And then for the second comparison, I want to make sure that we have the same rank as well. So we'll say card.rank equals, and then rank. Now just to add a little bit of clarity in the order of operations of how this entire Boolean statement gets resolved, I might choose to add a set of parentheses around each of those comparisons. It is not necessary, but we could definitely do so just to make the order there a little bit more clear. Okay, so I think this might be a working implementation here. Remember, when we call it remove where, like we were saying just a second ago, that modifies our existing list. It doesn't return a new list or anything like that. It modifies the existing list that we're looking at. So we don't have to worry about kind of reassigning over our cards property or anything like that. Okay, so I'm going to test this out by going up to the top of the file. Here's my main function. I'm going to remove the print statements that we have right now. I'm going to call the deck.removeCard method. As a first argument, I'm going to pass in a suit. So I'm going to try to delete this ace of diamonds right here. So the suit that I'm going to try to delete is going to be diamonds. And then the rank will be ace. And then after I attempt to remove that card, I'll print the deck out. And I'll just verify that the ace of diamonds is no longer inside there. Okay, so I'll run. And okay, that looks great. So we no longer have the ace of diamonds in there, and our deck starts off first with the two of diamonds. Now the last thing I might want to consider is to refactor this long form syntax right here into a single arrow function as we had done previously with the cards with suit method. Now this would definitely be a candidate for that refactor because we have a single expression here. Even though it looks like we're doing multiple operations, it's still overall a single expression. It doesn't span multiple separate lines of code. So I could do a little bit of a refactor by removing the return keyword, removing the semicolon, removing the curly braces, and then putting an arrow inside of here with equals and then a greater than sign. All right, so that should definitely be appropriate or equivalent. You'll notice that it kind of looks like it gets scrunched up onto two lines there. You might see something that looks a little bit more like that, which looks a lot better. But like I said, the two are 100% equivalent, so it's really up to you which way you want to go. I'm going to run this one more time just to make sure that refactor did not break my code. And in fact, it looks like we're good to go. Okay, so that's pretty much it for our deck class. So we've gotten a better sense of how classes work, and we've also done a real deep dive on some of the documentation around lists and gotten a better idea of how references work. Now there's still a ton of stuff for us to learn about Dart, so let's take a quick break and continue in the next section.